the people I'm talking about I managed are people that they're in movies. These guys are like huge. I'm talking about millions of followers, right? They're huge in the social media world. So I've managed all the situations you can think of when it comes to them dealing with women, breakups, scandals, all that. And I know exactly how to address those situations. I know exactly how to approach them. So even when it comes to that, outside of the business perspective, I can give pretty much the game on that too as well.
About to meet up with a guy named John. John actually owned, or he was president of a company that trained elite athletes and professionals to maximize their physical abilities, to maximize their mind, to be more capable and to be more successful. And quick story, I actually used to play sports myself, all sports. I used to play soccer, basketball, baseball, football, track. I just did everything. I was a natural athlete. Unfortunately, my life path kind of derailed that for me. But yeah, so I've always been into sports, love sports. Sports has actually been a part of my life as much as hip hop. But yeah, so interesting conversation. I can't wait to talk with this guy, John, to learn more about how I can actually use my gifts that I have now to help people in the sports world. So, yeah.
You know,
well, let me just tell you now, for example. So here's the main platforms that it's going to grab an immediate concentration.
Hey, John, hey, Johnny, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Hey, John, why don't you meet my friend Travis Williams?
Hey, what's up,
Hey,
man?
Travis, John Golden, pleasure to meet
Travis,
you.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're supposed to do nowadays, hug-wise.
Travis was just telling me, John, about a fan. So Travis is one of the biggest social media. He builds social media influencers from behind the scenes, and so that's what he does. He's built some of the biggest influencers in the world. And so if you've heard of him, Travis probably built them. So he'll be helping us with some different projects coming up. But he was just telling me a really good project he wants to do with the NFL.
Different sports,
NFL, different sports. John's got a lot of connections in the NFL. So I told him we should probably meet with you and discuss that, because he has the ability to take, make people these social media influencers. But what he was basically kind of lining, you mind if I share?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Basically lining out to me was, if NFL teams would embrace making their players who've already got interest into influencers, that would expand the team's reach, sales, product sales.
Like the NBA does.
Right. But
yeah, I don't think the NBA does it enough though. Like, for example, instead of having one or two main players that are star players, every single body on the team can have their own community, right? So you have what you call micro influencers, macro influencers, and huge influencers, right? But I know a lot of NFL players, like, dude, this guy has 5,000 followers and he plays for the NFL. Like, what are we doing here, right? Why not build them into have 100,000 followers, and then the next one 200,000 followers, and the next one 500,000, and the next one 1 million. And these don't have to be the star players,
right?
But now they all have their own community. Now they all have more sales to their own jerseys. Now they all have bringing more people to their NFL games or NBA games. And then on top of that, the NFL recoups. They have a much better PR, because it's organic, it's not forced.
Right.
It doesn't feel like, we're just putting on this PR for this is a natural, organic PR for you. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, again, it's going to increase the sales people that come to the games. And then the players benefit, because now they can get their own brand deals even after they leave the NFL. So it's just like this, everybody wins in the scenario, and I think they're not taking advantage of it. I don't think really anybody's taking advantage. I was just telling him also, like, let's take someone like Tesla. Everybody knows Tesla's overvalued, right? But it's because Elon Musk is an influencer.
Right.
He knows how to use social media when nobody else knows how to do it. And so you have a situation like that where these companies just are not taking advantage It's like, dude, social media has won. Like, just, I don't care what you think. Like,
Right.
just let the judgments go. It's won. Now, what are you gonna do about it? It's the new TV.
Right.
You know? So don't miss out. And I want to bridge this gap in this world because I've built some of the most successful influencers in the world. I want people to bridge the gap. I want to bridge the gap between these old companies, these old corporations that's been doing it the old way, and to understand how to evolve into the future and to adapt to what's going on. And yeah.
Hey, what's up, man?
How we doing? So this is the company, EXOS Human Performance,
Exos Human Performance Company.
right? So back in the day, when I say the day, we're going back probably 10 years ago, we were called Athletes Performance.
Athletes Performance, okay.
So if you ever hear, they'll say athlete is down in, most of the time, NFL guys go down to our Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep.
So we have hundreds of sites all over the country, but our NFL athletes mostly come to Phoenix, Arizona, San Diego.
You still run this company?
No, I sold out. I sold my interest out of it
Gotcha.
a little less than a year ago. So, for example, just alone this past year, there's 273, and this is a COVID year, so a lot of the guys couldn't travel. We trained 83 of the combine
Wow.
athletes this year,
Oh, that's incredible.
which would be a low number for us.
Really?
Yeah. So
So
like Chase Young, Jeff. So the two Ohio State guys. There's all the guys in the first round that we trained. And if you go back and you can look up Exos for all the years.
So if somebody wants to make it to the NFL, they come to you guys.
Correct.
Employers PH.
Yeah, for sure. So my previous company before I came to Vital, we trained a little over 50% of the guys that would go to the combine every year.
Oh, wow.
They got drafted.
Nice.
So I've trained, I don't know, couldn't tell you, about 1,200 or so first rounders.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have a lot of, we've done a lot. So
Yeah. So
and they're very different. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you said, like take Richard Sherman. How different would
I
he
met
be? Yeah.
yeah. In
Very,
St.
very
Louis.
smart guy.
Yeah. So we had Pete Carroll, coach.
Yeah.
He used to invite us out to. So when I used to live in St. Louis, I live in Dallas now.
Okay.
But when they used to come play St. Louis.
You like humidity, by the way.
Yeah, they used to invite us out, man. Have dinner with the team, and I met Richard Sherman. I met Pete Carroll. I met all the players. Beast Mode, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's great people.
Well, that's an example of allowing the athletes to be who they are.
Yeah.
That environment. Not all the teams are like that, or the players can be as social as they are there.
Which brings me to another question. What's the most common trait of the most successful people you've seen go through your program?
From an athlete standpoint.
Yeah. What's a trait where you say, okay, this guy's got the juice. He's probably gonna make it.
Well, so everybody that we see is super physically talented, right? And I could name some really top physical athletes, some of the most talented that don't make it. So it's really, I always said the word, there's separation in the preparation.
Separation and preparation.
Right? Their willingness to do the work, and you can see the guys who have long-term careers and have longevity. They put a process in place. They understand what it's like to be a professional athlete. Training. We always say that above the head is the software, right? Below the head is the hardware. The hardware doesn't work if the software isn't lined right.
So the process. So would you say people that kind of like, not necessarily love the process, but respect the process is kind of like what separates the two?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not everybody loves the process, right? Some call it a grind, right? And some are thrilled by it, right? But what they've got to do is they've got to make sure they have an off-season and an on-season, in-season process. And the more comprehensive they make that, the more that they can carve that out instead of depending on others, but can set it up themselves, the greater their chance of success are, by far.
Wow.
No, I can't say. But the thing is, the league worries about what impression it leaves because the league is driven by the revenue of advertisers, right? Yeah. So you're going to have to educate them to understand that there's a downside to the social media.
Yeah.
But what's the trend long term for them to understand? And then if you can educate the player to understand if you make a mistake, because you're human,
right? And that's where I always say to the athletes, like, if you make a mistake on social media, you have a big opportunity. Just like in life, you make a mistake, you can correct it.
So,
you know what I mean? And so how do you educate them? Because if you can de-risk that, I think you'll find better support from the owners.
Yeah, so I think actually, so here's actually the deal. If you actually pay attention to we actually think that the bigger the voices are, the more risk you're taking. It's actually false. The bigger the person is, the less risk they're willing to take. The bottom line is, when I work with these influencers all the time, and I promise you they're extremely risk averse. They don't want to do anything to mess up their brand. And this is what's going to happen to them, to these players. What's going to happen is they start getting these deals. They're going to start looking at this money that they're getting and becoming the influence of the community. And they're like, I don't want to mess this up. So they're actually going to be less willing to mess it up than they would if they didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah. So I love that perspective.
Yeah.
I believe it's valid. It's educating people to understand that.
Of course. Yeah, so I got to get in a room in order to educate them.
We never had technology that scaled in the mindset space. So
I'm heavily into the mindset space in terms of, so all my clients that I work with are in the motivational, like entrepreneur space, to kind of like shift mindsets and stuff like that. But it is very difficult to get a product that actually helps people with the mindset, meditation, and that aspect. So I do think that is kind of like the next step. That's like the next frontier.
Yeah. Well, the Vital platform, I had been looking for something for this for years. I used it for about 3 months, tested everything that I could on myself. So I have a lot of devices I use to monitor myself. And I was just amazed at what it did with heart rate variability, what it did to my deep sleep and to my REM sleep, and just overall energy level.
Yeah.
So I knew it was something special. So, I came aboard and now we're trying to drive it to market. So similar strategy that I used at EXOS. Now we're laying out our strategy, take this technology is really pretty incredible. It's a game changer for people for sure, because what it's going to allow you to do is you simply just put a headset on and you can reset your mind.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there with high anxiety, you're exhausted, it can get you to a state of focus, a state of performance. Let's say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you don't want to work out. Slip the headphones on and it'll get you all charged up to go work out. If you need to go to sleep, set it to go to sleep, you go to sleep.
Last question. How do you determine whether or not you visualize something to be successful? Oh, this has the juice to be successful, versus something that doesn't?
If you're an investor, they would say that most reasons why somebody fails, not because it's a great product, they don't have a good go-to-market strategy. Okay, how do you get it in the market? How do you go from the first customer to the thousands, to the 10,000, to the 100,000 customers? What is that path, right? Because the thing is, everybody's trying the same things, right? Oh, I need influencers, right? So do you have paid influencers or unpaid influencers? Do I use social media? Do I not use social media? So you have to figure out why you're going to have a competitive advantage in that market, right? But that's why an investor would say is go to market. I would tell you, from my perspective, it really comes down to, does the solution solve the problem that needs to be solved by somebody? And is somebody willing to go through the pain of that?
So these are very influential people.
Oh, for sure.
And every single last one of these people are kind of like looking for something more substantial to impact people than the motivation and the books that they've been doing. I really think this is up their alley. I know most of these people.
Yeah, see, this would be where my goal was, right? Because what happens when you build a product that's particularly, like you'll say, my friend says this is awesome, and I'm giving you my science. And the only credibility I have is, I can list a number of athletes that we impacted, or special forces and that. But the point really matters is, do people trust you, right? And the best way to get that trust is to have those testimonials. But like we have access to Jim Carrey, right? So he's somebody that's dealt with this and wants to be supportive of this, right? So he is somebody. So we've got some ideas. I'd be happy to share them with you of how we want to create an influencer network, right? And that would really make a difference. We also would like to launch a podcast that deals with this brain health and just helping people understand what can be done, right? Well, you know what you're talking about. I'll give you that credit. I mean, I've talked to a lot of folks in this space. You know, when the players come in the various leagues, they get introduced, you know, like at the rookie camps, they talk to them about social media.
Yeah.
And I think they could benefit from, you know, enhancement of that presentation to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you what's shared with them is all risk.
Yeah.
Right. And so like they'll talk to them about, you know, hey, when people try to connect with you, be careful. You know, these guys will try to hook up a date with them. They don't even know them. And, you know, we play games with them because they weren't even real people. They were IT folks that were pretending to be a girl, and they would share all their information with this person and want to hook up with them. And reality, which you weren't talking. So this is what the NFL talks to them about, not about the business side of it, the business opportunity.
Yeah, so I even have that, the ethics. So I've managed all the controversies you could think of online. Listen, the people I'm talking about I managed are people that they're in movies. These guys are like huge. I'm talking about millions of followers, right? They're huge in the social media world. So I've managed all the situations you can think of when it comes to them dealing with women, breakups, scandals, all that, and I know exactly how to address those situations. I know exactly how to approach them. So even when it comes to that, outside of the business perspective, I can give pretty much the game on that too as well. So I just need to get in, man. I just need to get in.
Okay, just finished up with John. It's actually surprisingly interesting, really interesting. And I learned a lot. I actually learned a little bit more than I thought I would. It helped me really understand about the importance of how the same mindset translates into different facets of life. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're a musician, whether you're a businessman, whatever it is you're trying to become successful at. And it just reinforces just the process of learning the process, learning how to continue to evolve and how your mindset kind of like shapes everything. He was telling a story about how even the most elite and most talented athletes, if they didn't have a process, or if they didn't kind of like understand the particular mindset necessary to be successful, then they didn't succeed either. And that was very interesting and powerful to me, because it just compounded the idea that, you know, it doesn't really matter who you are, you know, where you come from, what your background is, or even what you're capable of. If you don't have the right mindset, then you just want to make it to the next level. So anyway, amazing conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next vlog.